All right, hello to anyone and everyone watching this. This is Jeff Scott. I teach information technology at Rankin Technical College in Wentzville, Missouri. And what I'm going to attempt to do is to give you like an overview of what we're going to do over the next several days, and then literally build a website from scratch. And I've already started doing that, but that's for another time. I do want to give you some resources. You may care about these, you may not care about these, but either way, it's fine. All right, I would suggest you start by going out to w3schools.com. So let's say you can't remember that. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to type in W3 Schools, nothing else, and just hit enter. And notice W3 Schools Online Web Tutorials is the first one. Now, what I'm going to show you on here is the HTML tutorial, the CSS tutorial, and the JavaScript tutorial. I'm not going to run over any of these tutorials, but they are excellent references. So for instance, there's Learn HTML. You can see all the stuff that's in there. I mean, I could make a whole class out of just that. Here's the CSS. And again, you can make a whole class out of that. There's the JavaScript. Same kind of thing. We will hit on a lot of these things that are in here. We're not going to talk a lick about SQL, Python, PHP, probably not Bootstrap. All right, but if you did, there's a Bootstrap thing in here. Notice it's 3 and 4. Well, the funny thing is this is going to have to be updated because the newest Bootstrap is Bootstrap version 5. But I would strongly suggest that if you're looking for this, just come over to w3schools.com. All right, and go and click on the tutorial link. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is, and again, I will make sure somehow I get you all this information, but I'm going to type in this. All right, if I typed it incorrectly, of course not, I didn't. So let's see if I can fix this. Well, actually, it seems like that's not an issue. Let's see. But it's telling me the playlist does not exist. All right, let's just do this. Let's just start. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and on my desktop, I'm going to make a folder. And I'm going to call this folder Sandbox. You know, when you're a little kid and you play in a sandbox, well, we're going to make a sandbox folder. And I'm going to put in here, how about I make another folder? I'm going to call it Day01 because that's where we are right now. All right. Now, one thing is, as we start to save files, you may have a problem depending on the settings of your machine. So just to make sure you don't have any problems, all right, I'm going to come in here and where I'm at right now on my screen is something that's known as the File Explorer. All right, and I'm in my day one, but I'm going to click over here where it says View, and I'm going to go find Options way at the end, and I'm going to click on Options. So View, Options. All right, and then I'm going to click on View again. And what I want to make sure is that I've got a setting over here. All right, hide, where is it? Here it says hide extensions for known file types. We don't want to do that. We don't want to hide the extensions. We want to show all these extensions. So if yours is checked, uncheck it. Then you can click Apply. You can click OK. That's all you have to do to start with. All right, now I've just created this folder called Sandbox, and we've got a folder in it called Day 1. As you'd guess, we're going to have another folder in it that's going to be called Day 2, and yet another one called Day 3. Now we may make additional ones. We may have a Day 4 and a Day 5. Let's just do that, because this is going to be for over a 5-day period. So 4 and 5. All right, so we've got that. Now, one of the things that I mentioned previously in a different video that, again, you'll have access to, was that you want to be able to right mouse click on this thing that says Sandbox and choose Open with Code. What's code? The editor that I want you to use for this class is called Visual Studio Code. So if you come out here and you just type in download Visual Studio Code and you hit enter, the first link is download Visual Studio Code. Now, when I do this, I'm assuming you're using a Windows machine. If you are using a Mac or an Apple machine or a Linux machine, it'll still work. But I'm not going to be able to help you much with that because I don't have one of those machines. So I'm going to click right here. And that brings us to here. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. I'll make it a lot bigger in just a second. All right. So if you go out to there, and you don't even need this at the beginning, you can put it in, but you really don't need it. code.visualstudio.com/download. And if you're using Windows, you'd click here. If you're using Linux, you'd use one of these. And if you have a Mac, you'd use this. Now, I've already installed this. Literally, it's just a matter of you choosing all of the defaults. In fact, let's just run through it one more time. So I'm going to go to Control Panel. And the reason I'm doing this is I've already got Visual Studio Code in here. Microsoft Visual Studio Code right there. Actually, I just did it yesterday, but I'm going to uninstall it. All right, it says it's currently running. So I have to close that window. And it's gone. Now to reinstall it, all I do is I go out to this, and again, I don't need the https:// but I'll leave it there. So I'm going to go out there, and that's going to bring me here, and I'm going to click on this. Now, I'm assuming that you're using a Windows machine, and I'm assuming you're using the Chrome browser. If you're using a Mac or a Linux machine, you're going to have to kind of fend for yourself. And if you're not using Chrome, one of the reasons I'm using it, as soon as I click this, it's going to add that down here. You're going to see it down here in just a second. So there it is. Now it's going to take, it says just literally, it's already done. So I'm going to right mouse click on here then and choose Open. And it comes up and it says you got to accept this. So I'm just going to click the I accept this agreement. click Next. I'm going to put it in the default location. Should work fine for everybody. And click Next. It says, do you want shortcuts? And that's fine, so click Next. Now, on this, I would recommend checking everything except the one that says register code as an editor for supported file types. In fact, you probably could just check everything. It's not going to matter. There. And click Next. It's telling you what it's about to do, and click Install. Now, I'm not going to count here, but my guess is that this will happen in less than 30 seconds, probably closer to 10 to 15 seconds. The speed at which this happens is going to depend on your internet connection. I don't need to launch Visual Studio Code right now, so I click Finish. That's it. That was all there was to that. That's the install. That's the only install that you have to do. Again, if you don't have Google Chrome browser installed, I'd recommend you do that one as well. I'm not going to uninstall mine and reinstall it, though. So this sandbox that we just created, I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I'm going to choose Open with Code, which means I want to open this with Visual Studio Code. I've got a Getting Started file here. I don't need that, so I removed it. And there's my 5 folders. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is inside of here, I'm going to attempt to create a brand new file that we're just going to use as kind of, for lack of better words, a play file today. So I'm going to click up here where it says New File, and I'm going to call this index.html. The naming is important on here, and you can see that it's inside of there. All right, I'm going to remove it and create it again, just so you can see exactly what I did. So I'm in here. I want to click where it says Day01. I want to click on it. I get the down arrow. Then I'm clicking the first icon here that says New File. And I'm going to call this index.html. And that's my first file. Now, one thing about using HTML, which is what we're going to work with right now, HTML is referred to as a tag-based language. Most of the tags in HTML have a beginning tag and they have an end tag. So you know that. All right. There's also some stuff that you should put at the beginning, but just so we can get up and running as quickly as possible, I'm not even going to put in that stuff that we should put in at the beginning. We'll put it in later. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in a tag that's called an H1 tag. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to put in here, welcome to our website. Just like that. And hit enter. And then I'm going to save. So I'm going to do a file, save. I'm going to come back out here. We're going to learn a better way of doing this in just a bit. But I'm going to open my sandbox. I'm going to open my Day01. And I'm going to double click on the index file. And there we get welcome to our website. Now I'm just making the size of my browser window bigger. But that's it. Now, of course, we're not done, but we've started. Now, it would be kind of nice after we do this to put a little bit more stuff in there. So let's put in a paragraph. Now, we can put in a paragraph and we can type in whatever we want. Totally fine. But I just want to put in some what's called dummy text right now. And the editor that we're using here, Visual Studio Code, allows us to put in dummy text by typing in the word lorem, followed by a number. So let's put in lorem 40 and hit enter. Now we just got 40 words of this dummy text. Now I'm going to come in here. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to hit enter so that I've got, you can see every single line that we're putting in. So that's what we've got now. All right, a paragraph with 40 dummy words in it. I'm going to again do a file, save. I'm going to go back to where I just had this open, right there, and I'm going to click this button here that kind of looks like a half circle or so. That's my refresh button. And now I've got my, not only do I have my tag in there, my H1 tag, which is a heading 1, which is the biggest one that there is, but I also have put in a paragraph. All right. Now, that's all fine and dandy. No problem with that whatsoever. All right. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to remove everything I just put in. I'm not trying to waste my time. I'm not trying to waste your time. But I'm just showing you a couple things. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a tag that you typically put in at the beginning that's called doc type. And it says the type of document that we are creating here is an HTML document. And that's good because that's what we want. All right. Then on the next line, all HTML documents have to go between HTML tags. Now I could end it here like this, totally fine. But one thing I want to show you later is how to do what's called validate our document. And when you validate a document, it expects it'll have a language associated with it. So we tell it that we've got English. Okay, there we go. All right. And now we're going to come in here and we're going to put a couple things in here. Not much. All right. Now, if you want more on doc type, perfect example, perfect time to tell you again about going out to that w3schools.com and, all right, learn HTML, which brings us to that tutorial. All right, somewhere in here, I don't know where, but somewhere in here, if I do a Control F, there'll be a thing on doc types. And they explain what the document type is for HTML5. These are older document types, so you used to have to put in a lot more stuff. But if you want to know what this stuff means, you can go over there and take a read. All right. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time. Let me get rid of this so it stops beeping. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, so I'm not going to keep going back there, but just so you know. All right. You can also find out more about the regular HTML tag, and HTML documents consist of two sections, a head section and a body section. What's the difference? The stuff that's in the head section is what does not appear directly on the website. The stuff in the body section does appear on the website. All right. So let me put in literally for right now one line of code. And that's title. I'm going to type in the word title and I'm going to hit the tab key. And notice it made a title tag for me. And I'm going to put in here sample website, a pipe sign, and I'll say home page. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to save it. Now, if I go back to here, if I go back to where I was before, all right, and I refresh this, we remove this, and we removed all of this. So this part is going to be empty. But please take a look up here where it currently says index.html. So when I refresh, that's all gone. But now this says sample website homepage. That title that we put in, that title that we put in right here appeared up in our basically in our status bar up there, or in our tabs. All right. Now let's go back into here where we just were before and put back in the same stuff we had before. That is, I'm going to put in here our H1 tag that says, we'll just make it say my website. Okay. And we'll put in our P tag again. Whoops. Put in our P tag again. And again, we'll say lorem 40. All right. It might be, it generates 40 words. They may not be exactly the same as the ones that were generated before, or they might be. It really and truly does not matter. Oops. So save again. Go back to where we are running our program. Refresh. And now we have pretty much the same code we had in there before. All right. All right, we're going to do one last thing, and that'll bring this particular lecture, this particular part of day 1, All right, the first lecture here to a close. All right, and that is I'm going to go back in here again, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove everything I just put in. All right, and I'm going to show you a shortcut. In fact, I'm going to remove everything. And I'm going to show you a shortcut. In fact, let's do this. Yeah, I'll remove everything. That's fine. Emmet is a tool that's built into our editor here. If I put in just an exclamation point, you'll notice it says Emmet abbreviation. If I put that in and I hit the tab key, it fills in a lot of information for me. All right. So in the next lecture, I'm going to explain what some of that information is.